They said no man could satisfy her. One by one they all left her, gasping out of breath, whispering the same thing, "This woman is not normal." Yet, Nora laughed unashamed and kept chasing the fire burning inside her until she met him. If Lagos had a rumor mill, Nora was one of its favorite names. At 29, she lived in a modest two-bedroom flat with her friends, BC and Linda. But her lifestyle was far from modest. They had all started together, clubbing on Fridays, visiting lounges, joking about sugar daddies. But while BC and Linda knew when to stop, Nora never did. She took the game farther than anyone expected. It started innocently. Linda was the first to introduce her to an older man with deep pockets. Small enjoyment, nothing serious, Linda had teased. BC only laughed nervously, saying she wasn't built for that life. But Nora? She took to it like a fish to water. She didn't just date the sugar daddy, she dated his driver too. Soon after, whispers began in their compound. One evening, BC and Linda returned home early from work only to find Nora locked inside with their landlord. When the man stumbled out, sweating and fixing his wrapper, the girls were stunned into silence. Nora only laughed, tying her own wrapper casually. "What?" she said. "The man is lonely, and besides, he promised to reduce our rent." They thought it was a one-time thing until weeks later, they caught her behind the house with the landlord's son. That night, the three of them sat in the sitting room, and instead of fighting, they laughed so hard tears came out. "Nora, you're shameless," Linda cried. "Shameless or smart?" Nora smirked. "At least we don't owe rent." But outside their walls, neighbors were no longer laughing. Gossip spread like wildfire. Market women whispered when Nora passed. Young men in the street nudged each other, grinning knowingly. Even married women began warning their husbands to stay far away. Nora didn't care. She lived as if rules didn't apply to her. She took whatever man she wanted, sugar daddies who dropped her off in tinted jeeps, young boys who bragged about her among their friends, married men who swore they couldn't resist her. At times, it seemed less like desire and more like a force pulling her, dragging her wherever it pleased. She didn't resist. She enjoyed it, even bragged about it. "One man can't satisfy me," she told Linda one night, sipping malt straight from the bottle. "Why pretend? Better to enjoy life than lie to myself." Still, there were moments when her laughter died and her heart grew heavy. After a wild weekend, she sometimes slipped into church, sitting quietly at the back. She went for deliverance once. The pastor prayed until sweat poured down his face, but nothing changed. Another time, she confessed to a Catholic priest. He gave her rosaries and told her to fast. She fasted. She prayed. But the hunger inside her remained. At home, her parents grew worried. Her mother called one evening, voice low but full of concern. "Nora, people are talking. My daughter, you're old enough to settle down. We won't force you, but think about your future. A woman's name is her pride." Her father's voice followed, softer than usual. "Good men don't wait forever, my daughter. Choose wisely. We only want the best for you." Nora bit her lip, tears threatening. But she couldn't tell them the truth, that she wasn't just careless. She was trapped by a storm she couldn't explain. "I'll think about it," she said. That night, she stood by her window, staring at the restless lights of Lagos, whispering into the empty air, "What is wrong with me? Am I cursed? Or is this just who I am?" The city didn't answer. But deep in her chest, the fire still burned, and she knew it wouldn't let her rest. By the time the year turned, the compound had learned to keep their judgments in whispers. Nora didn't slow down. If anything, she became bolder. And yet, strangely, good men still came. On a bright Saturday morning, a clean Toyota parked by the gate. A tall man in a crisp shirt came out carrying a small cooler. He introduced himself as Cunnell, a banker, and handed Nora the cooler like a prize. "My mom cooks only for special people. I told her about you." Inside was jollof, grilled turkey, and small chops tied with a ribbon. BC raised a brow when he left. "Your reputation is on fire. And good men are still lining up." "How?" Nora opened the cooler, took a piece of turkey, and shrugged. "Maybe I smile better than my enemies." Linda laughed, but her eyes were tight. "Or maybe you're a little too free with your gifts." The very next week, A civil engineer came with flowers and tickets to a beach hangout. 2 Sundays after that, a youth leader from church came with his aunt to greet her parents formally. He called her virtuous until Nora nearly choked on her laughter. If only they knew, she told BC later. BC didn't laugh. She only reached for Nora's hand. Maybe one day they will, and they'll still choose you. As the suitors increased, so did the compound gossip. But the loudest noise wasn't outside. It was beside her. Linda began to change. First, a comment here and there. "Cunnel, he looks short. You can do better." "The engineer? Why is his wristwatch fake?" Nora laughed most of it off, but BC noticed the tilt in Linda's tone, the calculation in her eyes. Envy didn't ring bells when it arrived. It came wearing perfume and a friendly smile. One Friday, at a rooftop lounge, Nora was with a tech bro who booked the entire corner. He spoke about travel, Dubai, future investments. When he asked her to be his girlfriend, she said, "I'll think about it." "How many men are you thinking about, really?" He looked surprised. She smiled. "Enough to make you sit up." The same week, Fate walked into Nora's life wearing a navy blue polo and a calm face. She met him at a small printing shop on Bode Thomas. He stood with a designer, pointing at a banner. "It's not that the blue is wrong," he said softly. "It's that it shouts. I need it to talk." "Sir, blue is blue," the attendant frowned. He smiled. "Then give me the one that whispers." Nora almost laughed out loud. When he turned and saw her, he smiled like he'd found a song he forgot he loved. "I'm Remy." She told him her name, and he held it in his mouth as if tasting it. Nora. He didn't ask for her number. He didn't boast. He only said, "Maybe I'll see you around," and left. BC later swore that was the first time she'd seen Nora stare at a door after a man walked through it. One Friday, Remy showed up at the same lounge where Nora was with friends. He approached her with that half-smile. "I owe you a conversation about colors that talk." "And I owe you a dance," she said. "I don't dance." "That's why you should start." They danced, easy, playful. Afterward, he walked her to the car park without reaching for her waist. "Nora, can I take you out?" She felt the old fire curl inside her, the familiar pull that didn't ask permission. But there was something else, too. Quiet, like her mat after rain. "Okay," she said. "Tomorrow." The next day, Remy took her to a small, calm place near the water. No noise, no cameras. He asked about her childhood, her favorite food, the kind of music she hated. He listened with his eyes. He didn't try to kiss her. When he dropped her home, he said, "I don't know your story yet, but I don't scare easy." That night, Nora lay in bed and hated how much that sentence mattered. Over the next weeks, suitors still came, but Nora's updates to her friends started sounding different. Then came the first crack of real jealousy. Nora came home with a discreet gift bag. She showed BC a simple bracelet inside, handmade, initials carved small on the inner side. "N.R. Who gave you?" Linda asked, her voice too airy. "A man who doesn't need to shout." "Remy," Nora confirmed. Linda's smile stayed, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Cute," she said. When Remy invited her to dinner to make things more official, he looked at her across the table with the same calm smile. "Nora," he said, "I don't chase women, but I want you to know I see something in you I can't explain, and I don't scare easy, so if there's something you're hiding, you can tell me." Nora nearly choked on her drink. The words cut straight into her chest. She managed a small smile. "If you knew, you'd run," her heart screamed. A week later, Remy asked her to join him at a small hangout with his 2 closest friends, Tunde and David. Tunde was lively, David was quieter, but his eyes were sharp. They liked Nora immediately. That night, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling. She hated the way her body reacted to Tunde's smile, to David's quiet attention. She hated it because she had seen this pattern before. Every time something good appeared, the fire inside her found a way to burn it down. The fall came quicker than she expected. It started innocently, a game night at Remy's apartment. A joke with Tunde in the kitchen turned into laughter. Laughter turned into silence. Silence turned into something she couldn't pull back from. Days later, it happened with David too. When it was over, Nora hated herself. She sat on her bathroom floor, whispering through tears, "Why can't I stop? Why can't I just love one man?" She couldn't hold it in. One evening, she called her friends over. With trembling hands and broken words, she confessed everything. "I slept with them. Both of them. Remy's friends." The silence that followed was heavy. BC's hand flew to her mouth. "Nora, you can't. You have to tell him before he finds out. Please." Linda's face was unreadable at first. Then she smiled slowly. After all this, and the man still looks at you like you're gold." "Linda, this is serious," BC snapped. "And I'm serious," Linda shrugged. "If she tells him, it's over. Good men are rare. If she wants to keep him, she should lock her mouth and act innocent." Nora shook her head, crying harder. "But it feels like I'm carrying a stone in my chest. How long before he finds out?" BC knelt in front of her. "It's better he hears it from you than from anyone else. Nora, please. You can't build love on lies." But Linda leaned closer, her voice low and sharp. "If you confess, you'll destroy yourself. Don't be foolish." The room became a battlefield of advice, truth, and fear colliding like thunderclouds. And in the corner of Linda's heart, something darker began to grow. Because as Nora wept over her weakness, Linda thought of Remy, the way he smiled, the way he looked at Nora as if she was the only woman alive. And jealousy whispered in Linda's ear, "Why her? After all she's done, why her?" From that night, Linda's smile stayed wide, but her eyes were sharper. The morning after her confession, the apartment felt suffocatingly small. Nora moved through it like a ghost. She kept looking at Remy's bracelet, the one that didn't shout, and the lie felt heavy, pressing on her skin. BC, quiet and worried, kept her distance, offering only soft, pitying glances. She saw the turmoil in Nora's eyes and knew that the advice to confess was right, no matter how painful. Linda, however, was different. She was overly cheerful, almost triumphant. "So what did you decide?" Linda asked, swirling tea in her mug, her eyes glued to Nora's face. "I don't know," Nora mumbled, running a hand through her hair. "I can't face him. If I tell him the truth, I lose the only man who has ever seen beyond the rumor." "Exactly." Linda slammed her mug down, too forcefully. "So don't tell him. You think men are honest? They all have secrets, Nora. You're finally winning, and you want to throw the prize away because of a small mistake with two dull friends." Nora winced. "Dull? Remy loves them like brothers." "Well, he loves you more," Linda said, her voice dropping to a seductive whisper. "Lock the secret up. Be smart, not stupid." The choice was ripped from Nora's hands that evening. Remy called. "My parents are in town for a few days," he said, his voice carrying the calm energy she had come to love. "They're having a small dinner at our place on Saturday. I want you to meet them." Nora's stomach dropped. Meeting the parents. The ultimate commitment. "Oh wow, Remy," she stammered. "That's fast." "I told you, I don't scare easy. I want to build something real with you, Nora. And that means integrating you with the people who matter most." His words, intended as comfort, felt like iron bars locking her into the lie. She couldn't confess now. Not before meeting his family. It would destroy too much, too many people. "Okay," she breathed, forcing a light tone. "I'll be there. Should I cook?" He laughed. "No, just wear something that whispers." She hung up, shaking. Linda watched from the doorway, a slow, calculated smile spreading across her face. "See? Fate wants you to keep him." As the week progressed, Nora's contact with Remy's friends became agonizing. Tunde would call, his voice full of easy charm, flirting just enough to remind her of what had happened, while simultaneously praising her to the skies. "Remy is serious about you, you know. I haven't seen him this happy." His duplicity hurt her less than his genuine belief in her relationship with Remy. Then there was David. She ran into him at the market, and his calm, calculating eyes bored into her. He didn't flirt. He just watched. "Remy's lucky," David said, leaning in slightly, his voice a low monotone. "He thinks he has found a different kind of woman." "I am different," Nora challenged, her heart pounding. David smiled, a cold, knowing twist of his lips. All women are different, Nora. Some just hide their fire better than others. He didn't need to say more. The veiled threat, or perhaps the observation, hung in the air. He knew the extent of her fire. And she was now at the mercy of two men who were supposed to be Remy's brothers. Friday night, BC found Linda on the phone in their small kitchen corner. Linda was whispering rapidly, her back to the door, her tone sharp and urgent. I'm just saying, Remy deserves to know the kind of person she really is. All the good ones line up for her, and she just treats them like dirt. Why her? Why not me? BC froze. She didn't need to hear the recipient of the call. The resentment, the sheer burning envy, was unmistakable. Linda, what are you doing? BC demanded, stepping forward. Linda spun around, her face momentarily stripped of its usual cheerful mask, revealing a raw, ugly rage. Don't you dare judge me, BC. You don't understand what it's like watching her get everything. The gifts, the men, and now a good man who wants to settle down, all because she has no shame. You're going to ruin her life because you're jealous? BC's voice was full of shock and disgust. Linda's eyes narrowed. I'm going to save Remy. And maybe, just maybe, when she finally hits rock bottom, a good man will finally look at me. She clutched her phone tighter, her decision solidified. The dinner with Remy's parents was tomorrow, and Linda was already planning how to make sure Nora wouldn't enjoy her success. The fire Nora chased had finally lit a match right beside her.